First, the 1995 quarter dollar with a D mint mark. But hold on. Even if you've got one that looks old, dirty, and a little worn down, you could be sitting on a small treasure. Alright, before we get into the value, let's quickly talk about the 1995 quarter with a D mint mark. This mint mark means the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. These quarters are part of the Washington Quarter series that ran from 1932 until 1998, before the introduction of the 50-state quarters program. Now, millions of these were produced in 1995. In fact, over 1.1 billion of them came out of the Denver Mint alone. So why are we even talking about them? Well, it's because coin collecting isn't just about rarity but also condition, unique errors, and market demand. Condition is a huge factor. Most of the time, a coin in mint or uncirculated condition will fetch the highest prices. But what if your coin is dirty, old, or even worn? That's what we're focusing on today: coins that have been in circulation for years and may not be in pristine condition anymore. While a quarter from 1995 in perfect condition might not be super valuable, some circulated coins in worn condition with the right characteristics can still be worth more than face value. Now, one thing that can add to the value of a 1995 quarter, even if it's in rough shape, is a mint error. These are mistakes made during the minting process, and collectors go wild for them. Some of the most sought-after errors include doubled dies, where the image appears to be doubled, or an off-center strike, where the design is misaligned. These kinds of mistakes can significantly boost the value of even a dirty, old quarter. Okay, let's talk numbers. If you have a 1995 quarter with a D mint mark in old or worn condition, its value can vary depending on the demand and any potential errors. But generally speaking, here's what you can expect in today's market. So, even if your quarter looks pretty beat up, there's a chance it could be worth more than just 25 cents, especially if you've got a coin with one of these mint errors. Of course, the value of coins can fluctuate depending on the market and collector demand, so it's always a good idea to have your coin appraised by a professional if you think you've got something special. Alright, coin collectors, that's all for today's video. Remember, even those old, dirty quarters sitting in your pocket or jar at home could be worth more than just their face value. Who knows, you might have a valuable 1995 D mint quarter without even realizing it. First up, the 2000 D Jefferson Nickel. Let's start with a little history on the Jefferson Nickel series. First issued in 1938, this 5-cent piece has featured the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, ever since. This design replaced the earlier Buffalo nickel and has gone through a few design changes over the years. On the obverse, or front side of the coin, we see Thomas Jefferson's profile, originally created by artist Felix Schlag. The reverse side features an image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. This classic design made the Jefferson Nickel one of the most recognizable coins in U.S. currency. Let's zoom in on the 2000 D Jefferson Nickel. What does the D stand for? It indicates that this coin was minted in Denver, Colorado. Each U.S. mint location has its own letter marking D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, S for San Francisco, and W for West Point, though West Point only produces special coins. In the year 2000, both the Denver and Philadelphia mints produced Jefferson nickels. Denver struck around 1.6 billion nickels that year, so it's not a rare coin by mintage numbers alone. But of course, there's more to a coin's value than just its rarity. The 2000 D nickel, like other Jefferson nickels, has a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This specific alloy combination gives the coin its characteristic silver-like color, and it's quite durable, making nickels resistant to wear and tear. If you look closely, you'll see that the obverse of the coin shows Jefferson's left profile with the words "In God We Trust" and liberty, as well as the year 2000. Flip it over and you'll find Monticello on the reverse, along with the words "E Pluribus Unum" and United States of America. This classic design was a staple of U.S. currency until a redesign began in 2004 to commemorate the Lewis and Clark expedition. Let's talk about value. The 2000 D Jefferson Nickel is common in circulation, so a well-worn example is typically worth its face value of 5 cents. However, higher-grade coins, ones that are uncirculated or with minimal scratches and no tarnish, can be worth more to collectors. Coins that are graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services, like the professional coin grading service PCGS or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation NGC, are more valuable, sometimes selling for a few dollars rather than just 5 cents. Coins that have full steps on the Monticello building, meaning all 6 steps are visible with no wear, are especially desirable, as this is a rare detail that requires excellent strike quality. One exciting thing about the 2000D Jefferson Nickel is the potential for errors. Errors are mistakes that occur during the minting process, like misaligned dies, double strikes, or improper planchettes. Although not every 2000D Jefferson Nickel has errors, finding one with a mistake can make it much more valuable. Some of the most common errors in the Jefferson Nickel series include die cracks, off-center strikes, and doubled dies. Coins with these unique flaws often fetch higher prices from collectors. So, if you come across a 2000D Jefferson Nickel with something unusual, it's worth having it checked out. Now, if you're looking to add a valuable 2000D Jefferson Nickel to your collection, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, look for coins in mint condition with no significant scratches, stains, or signs of wear. If you find a coin with full steps on Monticello, that's a bonus. If you own a valuable or high-grade nickel, you'll want to protect it. Use a soft, lint-free cloth and avoid touching the coin's surface. Storing coins in a plastic coin holder or a flip case will keep them safe from air exposure and scratches. The 2000D Jefferson Nickel might be common, but it still has appeal for collectors. Coins in pristine condition, those with full steps, or rare errors can be surprisingly valuable. If you love history or just enjoy collecting, it's worth keeping an eye out for a quality example of this coin. Next up, the 1985 quarter dollar with the P mint mark, specifically in fine condition. First, let's get some background on the 1985 quarter dollar. This coin was part of the Washington Quarter Series, which started in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. The coin design features a portrait of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. The P mint mark you see here stands for the Philadelphia Mint, where the majority of U.S. coins are produced. In 1985, over 519 million of these quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, making it a relatively common coin at first glance. So why is a seemingly common coin like the 1985 P quarter potentially valuable? Well, it all comes down to condition and rarity. While millions of these quarters were made, finding one in fine condition with strong eye appeal can be tricky. Over time, many of these coins have circulated heavily, losing their sharpness, luster, and detail. A coin in fine condition means it still retains some details, but it's seen moderate circulation. You'll notice some wear, especially on the high points of the design, but key features like Washington's face and the eagle's feathers are still visible. Additionally, some 1985 quarters may have errors or die varieties, which significantly increase their value. Look out for doubled dies, off-center strikes, or weak strikes. These kinds of minting errors are rare and highly sought after by collectors. Now, let's get into the part you're all here for: the value of a 1985 quarter dollar with a P mint mark in fine condition. So, how much can you expect to get for one of these coins today? As of today's market, a standard 1985 P quarter in fine condition typically sells for around 25 to 50 cents. Yes, that's right, because these quarters are still fairly common, their value in lower grades remains close to face value. But here's where things get interesting: error coins and high-grade examples. If you happen to have a 1985 P quarter with a significant error, like a doubled die or an off-center strike, your coin could be worth much more. Depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error, prices for these coins can range from $50 to $200 or even higher. So, if you think you've got a valuable 1985 quarter, what should you do next? First, make sure you accurately assess the condition of your coin. If you're unsure, it's always a good idea to get it graded by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Once you know the grade, you can sell your quarter on online auction platforms like eBay or specialized coin marketplaces. Make sure to include clear photos and a detailed description, especially if your coin has any errors or special features. So, while the 1985 P quarter may not make you rich overnight, it's still a fascinating piece of numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, keep an eye out for those rare errors or higher grade examples that can truly elevate a coin's value. Next up, the 1988, and see what makes this particular year and mint special. The D mint mark on the 1988 Jefferson Nickel tells us that it was minted in Denver. This nickel is part of the long-running Jefferson Nickel series, which was produced continuously from 1938 through to modern times. The 1988 nickel specifically represents the classic design era before the updates of the 2000s. On the front of the 1988 D Jefferson Nickel, you'll see a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. This side, called the obverse, has been in circulation since 1938 with only minor changes. Alongside Jefferson's portrait, you'll notice the words "In God We Trust" on the left and the word "Liberty" with the date, 1988, to the right. Below the date, you'll find the D mint mark, identifying this coin as being minted in Denver. Now on the back, we have Monticello, Jefferson's famous estate in Virginia. This beautiful building symbolizes Jefferson's architectural and agricultural innovations. Above Monticello, it reads "E pluribus unum," a Latin phrase meaning "out of many." One beneath Monticello, you'll find the words Monticello and 5 cents, along with United States of America, along the bottom edge dot. So what is this coin made of? From 1946 onward, including the 1988 D nickel. But Jefferson nickels have been made of a copper-nickel composition. It's about 75% copper and 25% nickel, which gives it that familiar, durable feel. Each nickel weighs 5 grams and measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter. This metal composition has been a part of the nickel for many years, except for a brief period during World War II when nickel was needed for the war effort. During that time, nickels were made of a silver alloy, which we now call war nickels, but by 1946, the mint returned to the copper-nickel blend we see here in the 1988 D nickel. Now, let's talk about the value. As a modern coin with high production numbers, the 1988 D Jefferson Nickel is generally worth its face value of 5 cents. However, coins in exceptional condition can be worth more to collectors. For example, a high-grade mint state version, where the coin is nearly flawless and uncirculated, could fetch anywhere from 25 cents to a few dollars, depending on the condition and demand. Collectors often seek out coins in mint state, graded by services like PCGS or NGC. Graded coins can command higher prices, with those in the highest possible grade, MS67, selling for several dollars or more. Even though it's not rare, a pristine 1988 D nickel can be a fun addition to any collection. Did you know that Jefferson Nickel has only had a few major design changes since 1938? The most notable was in 2004 and 2005 when the U.S. Mint celebrated the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition with a new series of designs. These coins gave collectors a unique variety and honored Jefferson's contributions to the expedition. And here's another fun fact: while the nickel doesn't contain silver, war nickels from 1942 to 1945 do. They're about 35% silver, making them a bit more valuable. Handling your coins properly is essential for preserving their value. If you have a 1988 D Jefferson Nickel in pristine condition, consider storing it in a protective holder or a coin album. Avoid touching the coin's surface directly with your fingers, as oils can cause tarnishing. Storing coins in a dry, cool place away from sunlight is also a good idea. This will help preserve your coins for many years, even if you're just collecting for fun. And that's a wrap on the 1988 D Jefferson Nickel. While it may not be the most valuable or rarest coin in your pocket, it carries a unique history. Next up, the 1986 quarter, with the P mint mark specifically, one in extra fine condition. First, let's start with a bit of history about the 1986 quarter. The quarter minted that year features the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse showcases the American eagle, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a symbol of strength and peace. The P mint mark you'll find on these quarters indicates that it was minted in Philadelphia. This was a standard practice for most coins minted in Philadelphia, starting in 1980. But why are we specifically talking about the 1986 quarter today? And how can a quarter from that year with the P mint mark be worth more than its face value? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and demand among collectors. Now, let's get into the specifics of what makes certain 1986 P quarters valuable. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. The term extra fine condition refers to a coin that shows only light wear on the high points of the design. the luster may still be present in the protected areas, and overall, the coin's details remain sharp and visible. So, if your 1986 P quarter is in extra fine condition, that's a big plus. On the Sheldon grading scale, this would generally fall around the XF40 to XF45 range. Coins in this condition are particularly appealing to collectors because they're well preserved, but they're also not as rare as mint state coins, which often sell for much more. So, how much can you expect to get for a 1986 quarter with the P mint mark in extra fine condition today? As of 2024, the value of these quarters typically ranges between $2 and $5 in extra fine condition. Now, that might not sound like a fortune, but remember, it's still quite a bit more than the 25 cents you started with. Prices for circulated 1986 P quarters in XF condition can fluctuate depending on a variety of factors, such as collector demand, overall market conditions, and even the price of silver and other metals, though 1986 quarters are not made of silver. But keep in mind, not every 1986 P quarter in your collection is going to be worth the same. Let's look at the factors that can increase or decrease its value. First and foremost, condition. Coins with any noticeable damage, like scratches, discoloration, or dents, will be worth much less, if anything more than face value. Extra fine condition means minimal wear and no major imperfections. Another factor is overall rarity and error coins. Though most 1986 P quarters don't have significant errors, if you happen to find one with a unique minting flaw, it could increase the coin's value significantly. Error coins, such as off-center strikes or doubled dies, are rare and highly sought after, so keep an eye out for these types of coins, which could fetch much higher prices in the market. The most common ways to sell are through online auction sites like eBay, where you can list your coin and let collectors bid on it. Alternatively, you could sell directly to coin dealers, though you might get a slightly lower price since they need to make a profit. So there you have it, the 1986 quarter, with the P mint mark in extra fine condition might not make you a millionaire, but it's certainly worth more than its face value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, it's always fun to find hidden gems in your change. Next up, the 1940 Jefferson Nickel showcases Jefferson's Monticello home. Below Monticello, you'll see the coin's value 5 cents around the top. We have the words United States of America, and directly above Monticello is the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of many. This design reflects American ideals of unity and freedom. In 1940, the U.S. Mint produced Jefferson nickels at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia had no mint mark, while Denver coins featured a small D mark, and San Francisco coins had an S mark. This year was notable for high mintage numbers. Philadelphia alone struck over 175 million Jefferson nickels, making the coin widely available. When evaluating a 1940 Jefferson nickel, pay attention to a few important details. First, check for the sharpness of Jefferson's profile and Monticello on the reverse. Coins with well-defined details and little wear can be much more valuable to collectors. Coins in mint state or uncirculated condition are highly desirable, especially those with brilliant luster and minimal marks. One of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is finding error coins, and the 1940 Jefferson nickel has its share. There are a few popular errors to look out for. Doubled die. Some 1940 Jefferson nickels have noticeable doubling on the text, especially on the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Look closely with a magnifying glass to spot this subtle but valuable error. Off-center strike. Occasionally, these nickels were struck off-center, which means the design is shifted, sometimes missing part of the image. Off-center errors are highly collectible. Full steps. Designation coins with an exceptionally detailed Monticello often have what collectors call full steps. This means you can see all 6 steps leading up to Monticello's entrance. Coins with full steps are rare and can be worth a premium. Now, let's talk value. How much is a 1940 Jefferson nickel worth? Well, it depends on the condition, mint mark, and whether it has any unique errors or full steps. In circulated condition, a typical 1940 Jefferson nickel might be worth only face value, around 5 to 10 cents. However, in uncirculated condition or with full steps, they can be worth significantly more. Coins graded MS65 or near perfect mint state might sell for $20–50. Meanwhile, coins with unique errors like a doubled die or off-center strike can fetch hundreds of dollars. The nickel's composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel had to change during World War II. By 1942, nickel was a critical war material, so the mint began using a silver alloy for nickels until 1945. That's why 1940 and early 1941 Jefferson Nickels still have the original composition, making them a unique link to the pre-war era. Proper storage is key to preserving the value of your 1940 Jefferson nickel. Always keep coins in a dry, stable environment and avoid handling them with bare hands to prevent oils and dirt from damaging the surface. Consider storing them in a coin album or a coin capsule to keep them in the best condition. Next up, the 1960s, the 1968 quarter without a mint mark, especially in dirty and worn condition. The 1968 quarter is part of the Washington Quarter series, which has been in circulation since 1932. By 1965, the U.S. Mint transitioned from silver to a copper-nickel-clad composition to meet the growing demand for coins. This meant quarters from this period are no longer made of silver but of a much less valuable metal alloy. But wait, does that mean all 1968 quarters are worthless? Absolutely not. In fact, quarters from this era without a mint mark can be of particular interest to collectors, especially depending on their condition and rarity. So what's the deal with a quarter without a mint mark, typically US? Coins are struck at various mint facilities like Denver with a D mark and San Francisco with an S mark. However, if a quarter lacks a mint mark, that means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia was producing millions of these coins, and they didn't stamp a mint mark on them during this time. While these no mint mark quarters aren't rare by default, there are certain factors that can make them more valuable, even in less than perfect condition. Condition plays a huge role in determining a coin's value. Typically, coins in good condition or lower, meaning they are heavily worn and possibly dirty, don't fetch much in the way of premiums. Most 1968 quarters you come across in poor condition will only be worth their face value 25 cents. However, some collectors are interested in acquiring every version of a coin, even those in poor shape, for historical purposes. So even dirty or worn 1968 quarters might sell for slightly above face value, around 50 cents to $1.50, depending on how aggressive a buyer is. But here's where things get really interesting. If your dirty 1968 quarter without a mint mark happens to have a minting error, it could be worth much more. These errors include things like double dies, off-center strikes, or planchette flaws. Now, here's a word of caution. You might be tempted to clean a dirty quarter to improve its appearance, but experts strongly advise against this. Cleaning a coin can actually reduce its value because collectors prefer the coin's original state, dirt and all. So, if you've got a grimy 1968 quarter, leave it as is. The natural wear and patina are part of the coin's history. To sum it up, a 1968 quarter without a mint mark in poor condition is likely worth just its face value 25 cents, or a bit more if you find the right buyer. However, if you have a rare error coin, even a dirty one, you could be holding onto something much more valuable. Next up, the 1962 Jefferson Nickel. This coin was produced at two major mints, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. The Philadelphia coins don't have a mint mark, while the Denver coins are marked with a small D on the reverse, to the right of Monticello. In the early 1960s, coin collecting was gaining popularity. Coins from the early 1930s to the 1950s were highly sought after, and people began paying more attention to the Jefferson Nickel series. While the 1962 Jefferson Nickel may not be as rare as the 1950D, it still holds its place as a beloved classic among collectors. Let's go over some details for the collectors out there. The 1962 Jefferson Nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a weight of about 5 grams and a diameter of 21.2 mm. Its reeded edge and durable composition make it perfect for everyday use, which is why so many of these coins still survive in circulation today. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced around 97 million Jefferson Nickels in 1962. While the Denver Mint struck about 280 million. That's a large number, so it's easy to see why these coins are relatively common. However, there are some variations and conditions that can make certain coins more valuable. The condition is key. For a typical circulated 1962 Jefferson Nickel, the value is usually around face value to a few cents above. but if you find a coin in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially one with a brilliant or proof-like shine, it can be worth much more. 1962 also saw the release of proof Jefferson Nickels. These coins were struck with specially prepared dies and polished blanks to give them a mirror-like surface, which makes them stand out. Proof coins from 1962 were produced in relatively low numbers compared to regular mint coins, making them desirable among collectors. A high-grade proof 1962 Jefferson Nickel can fetch a premium, sometimes up to $20 or more, depending on its condition. Here's a rough guide for the value of a 1962 Jefferson Nickel based on condition. A circulated coin is worth 5 to 10 cents, but if you have a mint state coin, or one graded MS65 or higher, you're looking at values from $5 to $30. Proofs in high condition can reach even higher values. So, should you hold onto your 1962 Jefferson Nickel? Well, if it's in good condition or even has a proof finish, it could be worth a few dollars to a collector. But beyond the potential value, it's a piece of American history, a small part of the story of Thomas Jefferson, Monticello, and an era when coin collecting really began to take off. Next up, the 1979 D quarter with a damaged reverse side. How valuable is this coin in today's market? Now, 1979 may seem like a pretty ordinary year for quarters, but there's a very specific subset of quarters minted in Denver, those with the D mint mark, that collectors have their eyes on. And here's the kicker: the value of these coins skyrockets when they show significant damage on the reverse side. But why is that? What makes these damaged 1979 D quarters so special? To answer that, we need to take a closer look at the factors that influence the value of a coin. Condition, rarity, mint errors, and market demand all come into play. The 1979 D quarter was minted in Denver, marked by the D mint mark just below the neck of George Washington on the obverse. Over 500 million quarters were minted that year, but not all of them are valuable. Most of these coins are worth only their face value, 25 cents. However, collectors are on the lookout for coins with mint errors or those that have sustained unusual damage that make them unique. That's where the value comes in. So what exactly do we mean by damage on the reverse side? We're talking about anything from die cracks, struck through errors, to post-mint damage caused by environmental factors. These imperfections can range from minor scratches to severe errors like missing details in the eagle or lettering. But while damage typically lowers the value of most coins, in rare cases like this, it can actually increase the value. The reason coin collectors love unique pieces and damaged coins with a mint mark, like the 1979 D, can become highly collectible if they stand out enough. First things first, you need to confirm that your quarter has the D mint mark, which means it was minted in Denver. Next, examine the reverse side of the coin closely. Look for any signs of damage or irregularities that are unusual. Are there die cracks running across the coin? Is there a section where the eagle is missing detail? Does the damage seem to have occurred at the mint, or does it look like it happened later in circulation? The key is to determine whether the damage occurred during the minting process or afterward. Errors like die cracks, die chips, and struck through debris are highly sought after because they happen at the mint. These are much more valuable than coins damaged after they left the mint, which usually lowers the coin's value. Now for the big question: how much is a 1979 D quarter with reverse damage worth in today's market? Well, this depends on the type of damage, the extent of it, and the overall condition of the coin. Coins with mint errors that cause visible damage, like struck through errors or major die cracks, can sell for anywhere from $10 to several $100s, depending on rarity and collector demand. If the damage is extreme and rare, you could potentially see even higher prices at auction. In contrast, if the damage occurred post-mint, the value could be as low as a few dollars. The best way to determine the exact value of your coin is to consult with a professional coin grader or check recent auction sales of similar 1979 D quarters with reverse damage. Next up now, let's take a closer look at the design of the 1996 Canadian nickel. On the obverse or front, we have a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This particular design of Queen Elizabeth, crafted by Dora de Pedery Hunt, was first introduced in 1990. It features the Queen in a more mature representation, wearing a crown. Dora de Pedery Hunt was a renowned Canadian sculptor, and her design was the first portrait of the Queen to be designed by a Canadian artist. Below the Queen's portrait, we have the Latin inscription DG Regina, which stands for Dei Gratia Regina, meaning by the grace of God, Queen. On the reverse side, we have the iconic beaver, sitting on a rock. This design was created by Canadian artist G.E. Kruger Gray and has been featured on the nickel since 1937. The beaver, one of Canada's national symbols, represents hard work, industry, and resourcefulness, qualities often associated with the country and its people in terms of specifications. The 1996 Canadian 5-cent coin has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, a thickness of 1.76 millimeters, and a weight of 3.95 grams. It's made from copper nickel, a durable alloy that resists corrosion and maintains the coin's longevity. The Royal Canadian Mint produced over 121 million of these nickels in 1996 alone. They were minted in both the Ottawa and Winnipeg facilities, both known for their high-quality coin production. Now, you might be wondering, is the 1996 nickel worth more than face value today? Well, in most cases, the 1996 nickel doesn't carry high value for collectors. Since so many were minted, they are fairly common, and the standard versions are still worth just 5 cents. However, if you have a coin in mint condition or uncirculated condition, meaning it has no wear or scratches, it might be worth a bit more. A 1996 nickel in pristine condition can be valued at around 25 to 50 cents among collectors, though these values fluctuate with market demand. But there's something else to look for with the 1996 nickel errors. Sometimes, coins have minting errors that can make them especially valuable. While no major minting errors are common for this year, always be on the lookout for any unusual markings or misalignments, as they could increase the coin's worth to collectors. If you come across a 1996 nickel with a significant minting flaw, it could be worth several dollars or more depending on the rarity and demand among collectors. Before we wrap up, here are a few fun facts about the Canadian nickel. Did you know that during World War II, Canada produced victory nickels to support the Allied effort? These nickels featured a V for victory and a Morse code message around the rim. Read win, when we win, we work willingly. It's a great example of how coins can reflect a nation's history and culture. So, there you have it, the full story of the 1996 Canadian 5-cent coin. From its historical roots to its design and collectability, the Canadian nickel continues to be a fascinating part of Canadian heritage. Next up, the 1966 quarter, specifically one with the elusive D mint mark. Before we get into its value, let's first talk about the history behind the 1966 quarter. 1966 was an interesting time for coinage in the United States. Just 1 year before, the mint had transitioned away from silver coins due to rising silver prices. This led to a new era of coin production. Quarters were now made primarily of a copper-nickel blend. But what really stands out in 1966 is the absence of mint marks on most coins, including quarters. This was part of an effort to prevent coin hoarding during the silver transition period. However, there are rumors and collector tales of a 1966 quarter with a D mint mark, which would indicate that it was minted in Denver. Now, most 1966 quarters were minted without any mint mark, but a rare few with the D mint mark have surfaced, and these are the coins that collectors are after. Why are they so valuable? It's all about rarity. Any coin with a mint error or anomaly becomes highly sought after because it's an unintended piece of history. Determining the value of any rare coin depends on a few factors: rarity, condition, and demand. So, let's break it down for a 1966 D mint mark quarter. Coins in circulated condition can range anywhere from $50 to $500, depending on the wear and tear. But if you happen to have one in uncirculated or mint condition, that's where the real money is. In today's market, a 1966 D mint mark quarter in mint condition can sell for upwards of $1,000 to $5,000, sometimes even more at auction, depending on the buyer's interest. It's important to remember that rare coins like this often attract competitive bidding at auctions, driving the price up even further. Now, if you're wondering how to identify whether you have this rare quarter, let's go over the basics. First, check the date. 1966 quarters are quite common, but the key is the mint mark. You'll want to carefully examine the reverse side of the coin, just below the eagle. If you spot a D there, congratulations, you've potentially found a valuable piece. It's also worth getting your coin authenticated by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC, as they can confirm its authenticity and provide a certified grade which can significantly increase its value. Now that you know what to look for, it's important to understand the factors that affect the value of your coin. Condition or grade is key. Coins with minimal wear, known as mint state coins, will always fetch higher prices. The clearer the details, the better. Additionally, provenance or the coin's history can also add to its value. If the coin has been part of a famous collection, that story alone can drive up the price. Lastly, market demand plays a big role. Rare quarters often see price spikes when the market for collectible coins is hot. So, you've found one of these rare quarters. Now what the next step is selling it, and there are plenty of avenues. Online auction sites like eBay can be a good place to start, but you'll need to ensure you have a high-quality photo and certification to get the best price. Next up, the 2004 US. Mint decided to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition with a new series of designs. This became known as the Westward Journey Nickel series, which ran from 2004 to 2006. The 2005 Jefferson Nickel, which we're focusing on today, is part of this commemorative series. The 2005 Jefferson Nickel had two unique designs. Unlike the classic Jefferson profile, these coins feature two new designs, one on the obverse and one on the reverse, that were totally different from what collectors were used to. These coins mark the first time Jefferson's portrait was significantly redesigned since the original nickel in 1938. First, we have the American Bison Nickel, minted early in 2005. On the reverse, we see an image of a bison, also known as a buffalo. This design represents the Great Plains, which were explored during the Lewis and Clark expedition. The bison symbolizes the native wildlife that played a critical role in the ecosystem and culture of the plains. Later in 2005, a second design was released. This is known as the Ocean in View Nickel, featuring a beautiful landscape of the Pacific Ocean as seen from the west coast. The phrase "ocean in view," the joy is inscribed, reflecting the words of William Clark upon reaching the Pacific coast in 1800. The 2005 nickel also introduced a new portrait of Jefferson on the obverse. The US. Mint used a forward-facing portrait by sculptor Joe Fitzgerald. This was actually the first time in American coinage history that a forward-facing view was used on circulating coins. The new design brought a modernized look to Jefferson's profile and gave the coin a fresh feel that collectors found exciting. Now let's talk about collecting the 2005 Jefferson Nickel. Because the coins are relatively recent, they're not rare or highly valuable in circulated condition. However, in uncirculated condition, these coins are popular with collectors who enjoy commemorative coin designs. Nickels from this series with no wear, clear details, and in their original mint luster are worth a bit more to collectors, especially when graded by professional grading services. Some varieties also exist, so always check for unique characteristics or errors. The Westward Journey Nickel series, including the 2005 nickels, was hugely popular and inspired the mint to keep updating the Jefferson Nickel. In 2006, they introduced a permanent new design with a side profile of Jefferson and kept the Monticello on the reverse. These changes all started with the 2005 nickel, making it a landmark in US. Coin history. So, that's a wrap on the 2005 Jefferson Nickel. This coin isn't just another nickel. It's part of a commemorative series that tells the story of America's westward expansion and celebrates the natural beauty and history of the United States. Whether you're a collector or just enjoy learning about coins, this nickel has a little bit of something for everyone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you, and next time, happy collecting.